Mandalam 1, Suktam 23B. Rishi, Medhatithi Kanva, Devata.
Apas, Pushan, Agni,
Chandas,
Gayatri, Anuštubh, Puraushnik, Pratishtha Gayatri.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 23, Rik.
13.
आपोषम् चित्रपरिहितमाघृणे धरुणम् दिवः आजानष्टम् यथा पशुम्.
Verily, Sun, holder of heaven, do lead glowing with heat, just as a lost herd needing various purifications. The power of the Sun within us. Mortals upon the planets of the solar system are surely a lost herd without the bounties of the Sun, which contributes the most to the well-being of every species of life. The light and warmth from it impels every earthbound activity that one can imagine, whether it be the environment or within individual mortal forms. Every mortal life form has a set of innate activities for the performance of which the form is designed and functionally optimized. Being able to do those activities unhindered is the basis of happiness, the feeling that all is well with the world. This being so, hindrances that bedevil the process constantly and inevitably, that can be explained in terms of probability of happenings or in terms of the universal script of existence or ordainment, can be seen as enemies of this ideal state of being. Mitigation of the effects of these enemies is sought to be achieved by the process of seeking to know the truth behind the organization of existence, its acceptance, and the intent to moderate our dependence on external props to internalize living. The recognition of the truth that we are indeed a universe within ourselves, a replica of the external universe, having our own figurative sun to power us, is also a necessary step of this process. The hymn Aditya Hridayam from the Ramayana epic, the setting for its explanatory instruction by sage Agastya to Rama being a brief pause in the battle between him and Ravana in Lanka, is a description of this process of mitigation.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 23, Rik.
14.
ूषाराजानमाघृनिरपागूढम् गुहाहिलाम् अविन्दच्चित्रपरिहितम्.
Pushan, the sun, glowing with heat, came to know through various purifications the concealed king held by a hiding place. Journeying many thousand leagues in the mind, This verse has an entirely metaphoric character and is applicable exclusively to the realm of thought and consciousness. The king referred to is the unmanifest supreme. That he is concealed in a hiding place points to the inability of the senses and the intellect to detect his presence, as the king is beyond the reach of duality. The senses and intellect can only speculate and theorize that the unmanifest exists in everything that is manifest, but living this experience will happen only when our perception moves from being self-centered to becoming universe-centered. This path leads through the ocean of truth. Only when truth is understood and viewed from a universe-centric perspective can it be termed knowledge. From a self-centric viewpoint, it becomes a source of pleasure and pain and an apparatus of bondage. When truth is seen in proper light that is bestowed by Pushan, the sun, it leads the seeker to the threshold of heaven, where the king is securely secreted, providing a glimpse of him from far away. Breaking through the barrier that separates the domain of duality and the otherwise inscrutable realm of singularity, which is the private and absolute jurisdictional fiefdom, in the parlance of duality, of the unmanifest king, to reach his proximity, the last mile connect, will by all means depend on the script of existence and the grace of divinities, which too is a privileged expression of duality. The entire journey described, the switching of centricity from the self to an unknown elsewhere, aided by the uncommon guiding light of a Pushan, the unmanifest supreme masquerading as the sun, the supposed barrier between duality and singularity and its demolition, achieved by the grace of divinities, happens within our minds. In a sense, this is the story of our recognition of the universe that we truly are within ourselves. The various deterrents and hitches that we face and overcome during this journey are referred to as purifications in the verse.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 23, Rik.
15.
उतो समह्यमिन्दो विष्टद्युक्ता अनुशेषीषते गोभिर्यवन्नचर्कृषत्.
Besides, by bright words of wisdom, he brings back along the path 6 harnessed for me, like with cows, ploughs grain. The sown is not always the reaped. Generally, when fields are ploughed with animal power, a certain even number of oxen, ranging between 4 and many, are yoked as pairs for the purpose, depending on the extent of landholding and the pecuniary status of the farmer. As in the previous verse, this verse too is entirely metaphoric in nature. Keeping the description of the previous verse as a backdrop, it can be inferred that the notional essence of this verse is an extension of the theme from the previous one. The 3 pairs of yoked oxen refer to true knowledge, perceptive wisdom, and ardent intent of a seeker that leads his thoughts, grains sowed and reaped from the ploughed land, by the radiance bestowed by Pushan towards his goal of realizing the unmanifest supreme. Drab and dull truths of duality transform into bright and radiant words of wisdom by Pushan's luminescence. In the context of drabness of truths of duality, one is taken back to our days in high school when explanations of the teacher about physics and its various laws would induce sleep in most students, except a privileged few who probably were graced very early in life by ordainment with a spark of divinity that made them excited in contrast. Perhaps the said spark in the nomenclature of metaphoric Vedic thought referred to a just born male calf that could possibly become one of the pair of yoked oxen to guide them during their personal journeys of many thousand leagues within their minds later on in their respective lives. Or perhaps not, if this path wasn't spelt out in the universal script.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 23, Rik.
16.
अम्बयो यन्त्यध्वाभिर्जामयो अध्वरीयताम् पृञ्जतेर्मधुनावयाः.
Mothers, augmenting drink with honey, come by paths, the companions of those desirous of doing offering. Masculine, feminine, and neuter. Water in the Sanskritam language is a feminine plural noun. There is a reason why it is so. In fact, there are reasons in Sanskritam as to why any noun is considered masculine, feminine, or neuter. According to Vararuchi, the ancient grammarian, an object in which the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, experience a net increase in potency or capacity is said to be masculine. Likewise, an object where the three gunas experience a net decrease is identified as being feminine, while objects where there is neither increase nor decrease are neuters. The increase, decrease, or constancy of gunas is more a perception than anything else within the framework of Vedic thought. Fire displays resoluteness, stoicism, and impartiality every time it acts. That increases its sattva guna, and so it is masculine. Water, on the other hand, is ever ready to flow, can take any shape when stored in containers. That decreases both its sattva guna and its tamoguna, which makes it feminine. Moreover, the mentioned abilities are not achieved by one molecule of water, but a collective in general perception. This collective behavior makes it to be always referred in plural. Upon this setting, the phrase mothers coming by paths can be deduced to be truths of creation and their progression flowing through our perceptive thoughts or paths. Because they cause ecstatic joy and wonderment in those who understand their diversity of expressions, the complexity of their actions, and the uncompromising efficiency of their progression. They are compared with milk mixed with honey or truth that is pleasing. As this diversity, complexity, and efficiency of nature are its innate qualities, and it offers them unreservedly to make existence a wonderful experience, again a perception and a sweet one, it enthuses all components of the universe to follow its lead and exhibit the same spirit of sacrifice in their dealings with life.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 23, Rik.
17.
अमूल्यावुपसूर्येयाभिर्वासूर्यः सह सानो हिन्वन्त्वध्वरम्.
They who are near upon the sun or who are together, let them impel our unobstructed offering. Vedas and science are the same, yet different. Waters as truth, expressed as natural laws, is indirectly mentioned in this verse in the guise of the sun, on the basis of the sun's association with waters as visualized by Vedic thought, considering its functionality. The two prominent relationships between waters, both figurative and real, are the allegorical waters of molecular clouds that can flow under the influence of gravity, causing the sun to come into being, and real water using the warmth of the sun to initiate the water cycle in the Earth's atmosphere. In the latter relationship, the sun is near to the waters, while in the former they are together, the relationship being that of a mother and a son. One of the primary distinctions between Vedic thought and contemporary science is the penchant for describing natural laws in emotional terms in the former. It may be argued that inclusion of this element brings in bias to understanding truth. But in its favor, it can be said that it makes understanding simpler and reach a much larger section of the populace. Most people live emotions knowingly and true science unknowingly. When they are mixed, the number living either will swell, and also it is not that people who pursue science dispassionately aren't biased. To think that the other side is biased is a bias in itself. Vedic thought certainly makes more people live a life of understanding, fostering equality, while dispassionate contemporary science fosters the tendency of exploitation and inequality.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 23, Rik.
18.
अपो देवीरुपह्वये यत्र गावः पिबन्दिनः सिन्धुभ्यः कर्त्वम् हविः.
I call near feminine divinities, waters, where our cows drink to make offering to rivers. Drinking from the river of truth. It must be a reasonable assumption that intelligence and retainment recall of experiences for comparison with the current happening are necessary mental tools for awareness, perception, and discernment. That humans possess these capabilities in various measures is a given and experienced truth. An average human possesses them in measures just sufficient to fulfill its need to sustain itself. There are exceptions to this norm at both extremes of this average and variations in their expressions too. This argument of behavior and brain functionality can be extended to all life forms. The organization of existence is such that most activities to fulfill basic needs of living can be done only in a particular way, which can be termed a truth. It is truth that defines the law of works involved in doing a certain activity. Doing it in any other way will not achieve the desired aim. How is this truth learnt? It must be from the environment, gathering details of happenings around, using body senses, comparing them with earlier experiences, and using the inherent power of discernment to distinguish the beneficial from the harmful. Environment changes every moment, flowing with the constant progress of time, and truth too flows with it. This understanding is what makes Vedic thought to talk of rivers of truth flowing through each level or region of existence, representing the law of works for that level. Acknowledging and saluting this river of truth is like making an offering to the divinity personifying it. Not only cows, but all life forms drink from this river. A cow is specifically mentioned because it is venerated as the repository of truth for various valid reasons, valid from the perspective of Vedic thought.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 23, Rik.
19.
अप्स्वा अन्तरमृतमप्सुभेषजमपामुतः प्रशस्तये देवा भवदवाजिनाः.
Within, in waters, immortality, in waters, healing. Besides, divinities, for laudation of waters, do be of plenitude. Living by the rivers of truth. Continuing from where we stopped with thoughts in the previous verse, the purpose of fulfilling needs regularly is to postpone mortality and make provisions for the day or days to come so that we are successful in this pursuit in the future too. The act of pushing mortality into the future constantly is indeed immortality for mortals who know that mortality has to catch up someday according to the arranged processes of the universe or its script, if one may want to call it that. So, the truths that we apply in our activities for postponement of mortality can be deemed to contain immortality. Reasoning on similar lines, life throws new challenges at us every day, causing emotional uneasiness or physical ailments. The flowing rivers of truth provide prescriptions for tackling and overcoming these challenges that helps also in healing us back to normalcy. So, the waters contain healing as well. The same waters explain to us the truth about why we are mortals, about the structure of the universe, the immutable laws of nature, about the inexorable march of time, about the concepts of divinities and the supreme consciousness and our relationship with these concepts. No laudation for such ever-flowing rivers carrying all-purpose truths to every object of creation, every moment of every day is adequate. As mortals, we do not even have the capacity in us to offer anything of value to these almighty rivers. The only recompense possible is to live life by the prescription that they deliver and live life in a manner that is useful to everything in the universe.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 23, Rik.
20.
अप्सु मे सोमो अब्रवीदन्तर्विश्वानि भेषजा अग्निम् च विश्वसम्भुवमापश्च विश्वभेषजीः.
Friends, do sit down verily. Now, Sun, the praiseworthy, the giver, shines riches for us. Consistency of notions across articulations in existence. Sanskritam dictionaries provide a range of meanings to the word soma. Among them are a plant, the moon, air, water, sky, heaven, etc. If the notion of truth refers to an entity or concept that is reasonably long-lasting and expresses itself invariably everywhere at all times, then most of the entities in the list qualify for this appellation, with the Soma plant alone being an exception. However, in Vedic hymns, the word generally refers to the sap of the Soma plant, or sap in general, which is the truth for the entire vegetative kingdom. The composer's reference to Soma having told him can mean truth. This is so because he realizes that both content and the impulsion for the composition have come from without, from drinking the waters of the river of truth. A truth that was made accessible by grace, providence, or design, or whatever else one may wish to name this contrivance, and was certainly not a product of his own intellect. Guess this can be said of every activity that we do or have ever done. The content, impulsion, direction, purpose, and time of expression, all being decided by the truth being circulated all around by the figurative flowing waters. There is an antidote to every ailment in truth, but it is always from the universal perspective. If this is truly understood, it leads to acceptance and balance, which is the gateway to glorious consciousness. As all activities require energy to produce their respective expressions, Agni is in this mix constantly and is so acknowledged.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 23, Rik.
21.
आपः प्रणीतभेषजम् वरूदम् तन्वे एवम ज्योत्कसूर्यम् धृते.
Waters do promote healing armor for my body and long-time vision for the sun. Our cousins, the celestials. This verse explicitly establishes the connect between sunlight and the immune system of mortal bodies. Contemporary science surmises that between 10 to 30 minutes of daily exposure to sunlight, especially early in the day, is advisable. Many everyday Vedic practices were scheduled for the early morning precisely for this purpose. The recommended dress code, too, was attuned to this necessity, as well as that of aesthetic dignity. The connect between the sun and our immune system is established through three related channels: the physical, the conceptual, and the emotional. Through the first, as per contemporary science, also, sunlight boosts the immune system, which is referred to as the healing armor for the body in the verse, helping heal open wounds, reducing depression, keeping the mind alert, reducing incidence of cardiovascular issues, controlling diabetes and several forms of cancer, reducing inflammation. The list is quite long. At the conceptual level, the sun and mortals have a genealogical as well as a functional connect, being born of waters or floating molecular cloud and living by the truths carried by rivers flowing through their respective dominions, a fact that makes them cousins. This deduction brings us to the emotional channel of connect. Knowing the sun, as well as every other celestial object, as a cousin, removed by the necessary number of times, promotes the feeling of oneness with the universe. This is perhaps one of the reasons that formal Vedic sacrifices are designed to acknowledge, wish for the well-being of, and present token offerings with sincere intent to our cousins, and realize that they shower gifts upon us too in altruistic munificence. This is also the basis of the adage, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is a family, from a universal perspective.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 23, Rik 22.
प्रवाहतयत्किञ्च दुरितम् मयि यद्वाहमभिरुद्रोह यद्वासेपहुतानृतम्.
And since waters do carry away that which is bad in me, or when I am causing harm or insult, besides lying, cleansing untruth with truth. The notion of taking a dip in a river to wash away one's sins is born of conceptualizing pervasion of truth as flowing waters. It is the notional cleansing of untruth with truth. Importantly, the act instills in us the need to be truthful henceforth. Truthful in the sense of scrupulously living by the laws of nature, as well as the utterance of truth always, which is a common inference, a resolve that will immensely aid in the shift of centricity of perception from the self to the universe. It is the urge to sin that is washed away by the waters of truth, not the repercussions of the sins already committed. However, the essence of truthfulness instilled by the act and our sincerity provides the fortitude to face those repercussions. At a level higher, the dip in the waters of truth is also to understand that the script of existence, which is truth in itself, is packed with processes where both truth and untruth inevitably express themselves. Hence, untruth too is born of truth, and so, paradoxically, is also the truth, in a manner.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 23, Rik 23.
आपो अद्यान्वचारिषम् रसेन समगस्महि पयस्वानग्नागाहितम् मासम् सृजवर्चसा.
Now I followed waters. We united together with that sap. Agni, do come satiated with the drink. Do create me with vigor. Sacrifice, culpability, and responsibility. The sap of a plant or a tree is its river of truth. Sap reaches up to the topmost leaf of the canopy of trees, carrying minerals gathered from the soil by the roots and sunlight energy transformed by chlorophyll into chemical energy. If truth is interpreted as a formulation to execute an activity towards a specific purpose, then sap can be deemed to be the carrier of this truth along the course of the river that flows through the vascular system of a plant or a tree. When sap or waters representing truth is offered to Agni, it entails hurting the plant, a life form that has as much right to be as the offerer. This thought is essentially to willingly accept culpability for the hurt caused, and as expiation, the one making the offering takes on the responsibility of living life in the spirit of sacrifice for the benefit of other life forms. The same can be said of hurt caused to life forms other than plants as well. Taking up responsibility and executing it in complete sincerity is the profound notion behind a sacrifice.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 23, Rik 24.
तम्माग्ने वर्चसा सृजतम् प्रजया समायुषा विद्युर्मे अस्य देवा इन्द्रो विद्यात् सहर्षिभिः
Agni, do create me with vigor, with offspring, with life. May the divinities know of this me. May Indra together with seers. Customs, allegiances, and societal norms. The wealth sought from divinities, according to Vedic thought, is not material wealth, but the wealth of truth, and the vigor sought is to be able to live this truth enthusiastically for the well-being of all in creation, as the divinities or gods themselves do. It is said that birth entails debts, a divine debt, a genealogical debt, and a societal debt. The first is owed to divinities who designed and created our forms and make available nourishment to sustain us over the time allotted to us in existence. The second is owed to our parents and ancestors who give us an identity. The third is to the society that we live in that secures our respective stations in life. Diversity being the preferred manner of expression of existence, the notion of divinities, manes, and society are variously interpreted, giving rise to the plethora of customs, allegiances, and societal norms that we get to see, all followed for the same purpose. If you found this video informative and relevant, please like and share it. If you would like to see more such videos in this ongoing series, please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you for viewing.